You think about favorite KPIs, it's like perspectives. What do
Yeah.
you do? What's your job? My favorite, your favorite, two different favorites depending on roles, but in industry from that point. But I think is that at a macro level, KPIs, financial, operational, system performance. Everybody's like, why do I need system performance KPIs? We got to make sure that machine's running, right? We're not just looking at how fast the car is going, but what's going on. So if you think about, a vehicle being a great example, but in the world of ERP, and I think as an owner, and I've run a company for 29 years, and I'm like, okay, what's the most important KPI to me?
Yeah.
And the ones that jump to mind is I was utilization. Utilization has always been one of mine because I'm a professional services business.
Yeah.
However, utilization alone is not enough. It could be misleading. And I think as you look at, the financials behind utilization, you need more. And I think even as, my background, I'm technical, comp sci math, so I'm really into numbers. But backlog is another interesting one. Everybody's like, well, what does that mean? Well, how much backlog do I have? What's my undelivered work? If you think about, signed contracts, unfulfilled contracts, that's a backlog. Meaning, and again, in the professional services world, you say, oh, I've got 1 day of backlog. Well, that's a problem. Again, a month, 6 months. 6 months might be too much, right? Customer service is a problem. So if you think about backlog, but backlog is an important indicator because, again, for me, it's gauging, well, how well is sales effectiveness? And again, are the delivery and the implementation teams going to stay busy? Are they going to run out of work? So as you think about what are those indicators that help you plan, and the other one is pipeline. So we talk about backlog, which is book business. Now I'm looking at pipeline, which is, okay, what's heading towards the backlog, right? And utilization is talking about how are we delivering. So there's really three big areas, right? What's coming in, what's in, not started, what's started and it's running. But and those aren't enough. And I mean, I think that, and those are, some of those are operational, some of those, it sounds like sales, it sounds like project
Yeah.
performance. But if you're a finance guy, there's a lot of different, and I've never worn the hat where I look at what's your debt to equity ratio. I don't look at that on a daily basis. It's an interesting one. What's your return on capital? Well, that's another one that I don't worry about on a daily basis. Cash flow is an interesting one, and normally as you look at, what is the metric? Is it a cash flow statement? And I think so. As you think about what does that mean looking at cash flow? Well, people are trying to predict, and we go back to what I said: backlog, utilization. Again, if we're going to the sub ledgers and cash flow, we're looking at receivables now. What are my average days to pay? Meaning, if I have net 30 terms, are people paying me 30? Are they paying me 60? Are they paying me 90? And so, predictability. And then there's as you add a few more that all relate to cash. Okay, so cash is that other big thing that drives the organizations, and most people are still booking business on an accrual basis. And I'm going to tell you what, it could be funny money. So if you're an owner and you want to really get empirical statistics, which they're not going to move because accrual accounting, hey, I made a journal entry. Look, we have more revenue, more profit. It doesn't mean anything. But if you look at cash, and if cash is that underlying theme in a business, and you may be accrual based, but how do you get cash based visibility of performance? So a lot of people don't look at a balance sheet on a rolling 12 month. Everybody's like, well, why would I look at it like that? Well, again, you're looking at, and again, we're going graphical. So if we think about even taking a step back in analytics and KPIs, is are you reading numbers, or are you looking at graphs and charts that have green, yellow, and red, right? Red is action. So again, I'm moving from logically in my world, right? Services, operational metrics, but I came back to cash because cash is still going to tell you, well, what's really going on in the business? Meaning, and if we look at that rolling 12, is cash dropping? Is receivables climbing? Okay, those are inverse curves. And I made an example to somebody the other day that if you looked at a rolling 12 and you saw cash and AR going down at the same time, but sales looks okay, there's a problem with your accounting. Because, right, it's okay if cash goes down and AR goes up, right? But if cash and AR are going down and sales looks okay, well, there's a problem with sales because sales booking to AR, we should see, right, inverses. Now, we don't want AR to go up and cash to go down, right? But that's still an indicator that, hey, is my days sales outstanding growing? And you wonder, well, which one gets the CEO's attention? And so as we talk about graphical, right, what's impactful? Is it cash? Is it looking at what's happening here? Again, is it this backlog where, hey, I don't have enough backlog, and how quickly can sales close deals to replenish a backlog because the concerns are, right, what happens? It's cash flow. We're going to have sales are going to drop. Why is cash going to drop? Because I'm still paying my people. Ooh. And again, there's a lot of complex KPIs that can come together there. And you're listening to me saying, well, what's the most important one? Well, Sam says pick three. I'm like, okay, well, you heard the first three, but once you get the first three, you still got to come back and validate, by looking at cash. And I think that cash is still king.